Heller is just a little bit suspicious of you. You're taking out $1,000. They can report it to the feds. Now, that's wrong. Okay, but beyond that, now let's talk about Dodd-Frank, because you got me going. If you own 10 rental properties, that means you're really good at rental property work. And some people do this for a living. There are a lot of people that have 10 rental properties. Do you realize because of Dodd-Frank, if you have 10 mortgages on 10 rental properties, good luck trying to get an 11th. You can't. You're not able to. Now, what kind of crap is that? That's not capitalism. That's communism. So I'm with you on this one, Bill. I like what you're saying, but continue, please.
Oh, yeah. And, that's another thing is, well, how can you have law without property? Because what is a law? I mean, the way I kind of see it is a law is, it is a property rule at the, after conflict resolution. Okay, this property belongs to this person because they tilled the land to make that plant, or they're the entrepreneur or engineer or whatever that made it. Therefore, it belongs to them. And, and then the real difference between an anarchistic conservative or an anarcho-capitalist and a normal conservative is we just think that most of the things the government does can be taken care of more efficiently by the private sector if there is competition, to produce those things.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Bill. For those of us who have owned businesses, and my wife and I have owned several small businesses, for those who've owned real estate, and my wife and I have investment properties, we just look at it's an uphill battle on every front. The government regulation, the restrictions, all of the hurdles you have to jump through in establishing a business. And it's worse in other parts of the country than others. I'm here in California where it's got to be the worst. And then the regulations for investment property and all of the hoops that you have to jump through as if you're some kind of an idiot that doesn't know how to do it yourself. The government just makes it worse, and the government makes it more expensive. Everything they tax, it becomes more expensive, obviously.
Absolutely.
Listen, I like this. So, again, it's the pronounce it for me one more time because I want to get this right. It's the anarcho. Say it again, please.
Anarcho-capitalism.
Anarcho-capitalism. I love it. Bill out of Boise, thanks for checking in on the Savage Nation. Well, and aside from being anarcho-capitalist, I love that. I love that. We are also people of a rebellion different than the likes of which Michelle was talking about at that Oberlin College. You probably heard the clips that Savage was playing yesterday. In that of this is enshrined within our Declaration of Independence. Remember this? Sadly, they don't teach this in schools anymore, do they? Some of us were in our public schools at a time when everybody had to stand before the class and recite this. If that were the case today, oh my gosh, you'd have these hippie parents and these dippy parents and these, you'd probably get some of the refugee parents say, no way, my child's not going to recite that. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Remember this? That all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, which among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, any form of government becomes obstructive to these ends. It is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government. I remember it. That's not what Obama was talking about when he was referring to the fundamental transformation of America. He'd like to tear that Declaration of Independence apart. He's a constitutional hacker. He says he's a constitutional law professor. You know what that means? Looking at the Constitution and figure out ways to get around it. Figure out ways to poke holes in it. Take a knife to it, slice it, dice it. Hack it like you'd be hacking into a computer. Hack it like these idiots did to the IRS computers. And it takes the IRS 4 months to figure out what was going on. Can you believe this? Obama's a hacker, a constitutional hacker. And now we know because of this Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, he's also the illegal president. In that the court slapped him upside of the head for disobeying the law, disobeying the Congress, going it alone with his DAPA. Yeah, the IRS. This is quite a story. And you've got this Koskinen guy, the head of the IRS, saying, well, this isn't a security breach. What? It's not a security breach. You have fraudsters going into the computers of the IRS and hacking into 100,000 taxpayers' accounts, filing false returns, and grabbing and running with $50 million in the process. Oh, this isn't a security breach. And what? This is just the latest embarrassment for this tax agency, which is obviously out of control. This is amazing. And by the way, the computer program that these bad guys hacked into, this is a program that Obama was all excited about. Oh, yeah. He said, we need this. We need the Get Transcript application. It'll streamline government. Guess what? Your streamlined application, which probably cost us $100 million, I don't know, was hacked into. And what's even crazier, the federal government is so stupid, they don't know this is going on for 4 months. Can you imagine? I'm talking to you from the Silicon Valley. Right down the street, okay, we've got Google, online company. But better yet, let's go to an e-commerce company. We've got Amazon, and we've got eBay. There's two. And you could look at, we got LinkedIn. They do, they facilitate commerce. Whatever the case may be. But let's just say it's an e-commerce company where there's actually transactions going to place. Okay, Amazon, eBay. How about this? Somebody hacks in to an eBay user's account and starts, or PayPal. How about that, PayPal? Somebody hacks into a PayPal account. They're right down the street as well. And they just start taking money from the bank account. Start making trades on eBay in somebody else's name. Buying, selling, making all sorts of money. Are you telling me that eBay, PayPal, or Amazon wouldn't know about that within an hour? Of course they would. The IRS doesn't know about this for 4 months? How stupid are they? This is a government that's out of control with layers and layers of bureaucracy. So literally, the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. And this Koskinen guy, oh, this isn't a security breach. What planet are you on? What a liar. You know what? If their lips are moving, they're lying to us. Oh, this Get Transcript application. It's going to streamline government. Yeah, again, probably cost $100 million to make because it was made by federal bureaucrats working on a contract. And we lost $50 million in taxpayer money as a result. Oh, so how's the government going to repair all this? Oh, okay, I got you. What they're going to end up doing is they're going to pay for a credit monitoring service for the 104,000 people whose IRS information was stolen. Oh, well, you know what? That'll help going forward, I'm sure. But this is how they solve things. No, we'll give them a free subscription to LifeLock. Bill is calling out of Jacksonville, Florida. Bill, tell me, what's the answer to the Islamic problem? We've got Islamic radicals trying to take over broad swaths of the world. What do you say we should do?
Well, I don't know what we should do, but I know that they'll never do that in China because Chinese government there would never tolerate it. I'm sure that if they would, you don't hear of any bombings of mosques, or you don't hear any trouble going on by Islamic people in China. I don't know to what extent there is an Islamic population in China, but I'm sure there is. But they don't try to take over the country the way they're doing it everywhere else. And their answer is you got to get tough, and you got to be very tough. I know that the Islamic people are a tough group, because in Afghanistan in the 1980s, Russia had to give up Afghanistan, which was a solid satellite country of the Soviet Union at one time.
Yeah.
They had to give it up because those people are tough.
Well, because, listen, how do you fight, Bill? How do you fight an enemy that's not afraid to die? How do you fight an enemy that's not afraid to die?
Well, I'll tell you, in my opinion, and here again,
I mean, the only way you can do it is kill all of them. That's the only way you have to give them their wish and kill all of them.
Well, you don't kill all of them. You torture them to some extent, and you make them stop, and you get to the people that there is a certain amount of reasonableness among them who don't want to die.
No, but I'm just talking about the fighters, the ones on the battlefield. They have to be eliminated, period.
Yeah, well, find out what the Chinese are doing, because they
Well, you're right. They don't have a problem there. But then again, the Chinese also like to imprison Christians. So I'm not looking at the Chinese as my role model. But you're right. On that particular score, they don't have any problem. Brian Sussman filling in for the great Dr. Michael Savage. MichaelSavage.com. We'll come back, do a little wrap-up, because we certainly have talked a lot in these last 3 hours together. And also want to tell you about the book, Countdown to Mecca, which is in stores now. It is The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN.
Savage Nation, Brian Sussman filling in. Michael's back tomorrow, keeping our fingers crossed. Some of the headlines today. Well, we have the Vatican calling Ireland's vote for same-sex marriage a defeat for humanity. Ramadi falls to ISIS fighters, even though they were vastly outnumbered by Iraqi troops. Do you realize it was only hundreds of ISIS fighters, thousands of Iraqi troops? I guess when you see how ferocious these guys are, willing to lop off heads at a click of the fingers, you start to run. I don't know. Seems like that's what happened. Marco Rubio. It is a real and present danger that Christianity will be labeled hate speech, primarily because of gay marriage. Another headline on the Savage Nation. Just go to michaelsavage.com. You're 45% more likely to be murdered in de Blasio's Manhattan. Well, look what's going on there. He's going to ruin that city. Giuliani did a great job of cleaning it up. Now de Blasio, we know how he feels about the cops. Just wait. State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf, rhymes with barf, is leaving her post. Now she's going to work for John Kerry directly, his chief correspondent for strategic communications. Great. Democrats call for a flood of Muslims to the United States. 14 Democrat senators have written a letter to President Obama urging him to dramatically increase the number of Syrian refugees. Great. Pastors are being encouraged to meet and talk about global warming. Yeah. Hey, pastors, all you have to do is go to the book of Genesis. It's in the Jewish Bible. Go to chapter 8, where God says to Noah, while earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. Just read that. You don't have to worry about it. Countdown to Mecca is in the stores now. I highly encourage you to pick up a copy of this book. A plane bound for Amman, Jordan, goes down in the Caspian Sea. No survivors but one Russian mercenary who hijacked the flight. And a cask containing WMD, I might say, is missing from the wreckage. That's where the story begins. You have to find out how it ends by ordering Countdown to Mecca by Michael Savage. Brian Sussman, proud to have been filling in on this, the Savage Nation.